Hi, Ben Fulton here from benlaw.ca. I want to talk to you about the difference between diversion and restorative justice. The key difference is that truly restorative justice is a survivor-centered approach that seeks to restore those most impacted by tragic events and heal the harm done to the entire community. Whereas diversion is a much simpler program aimed at giving offenders of less serious offenses another chance. At its core, diversion recognizes that not every court case needs to go through the court system, especially where rehabilitation is more important and appropriate than punishment. Diversion is largely system driven. It's managed by the Crown, and the focus is on resolving the case instead of proceeding to trial. The person agrees to complete certain conditions. These might include things like community service, counseling, maybe writing an apology letter, and or making restitution. After the conditions are satisfied, the Crown agrees to withdraw the charges, and the offender avoids a criminal record. Whereas restorative justice, on the other hand, takes a very different approach. Instead of focusing primarily on the legal system, it focuses on the people involved, especially the harm that was caused. In a restorative justice process, the person harmed, the person causing the harm, and other members of the community come together in a structured and focused way. The goals are acknowledging what happened, understanding the impact of what happened, taking accountability, and most importantly, working towards repairing the harm. This is usually done with a trained facilitator, and in many cases, there is a healing circle with a circle keeper. The big difference here is the involvement of the survivor and the lead role they play. With a diversion, the offender may never directly face the person they've impacted. Whereas with restorative justice, the person harmed is the most central figure in the entire equation. And this has a big impact on the different outcomes. Diversion can lower recidivism somewhere between 20 and 60%, depending on the study that you read. In a restorative justice program, a recent pilot out of Alberta showed a less than 1% rate of recidivism. That's a drop of over 80%. Unlike diversion, restorative justice isn't just about avoiding the court system, it's about accountability, healing, and rebuilding trust. By involving the survivor and requiring active participation and engagement with the consequences of the damaging actions, restorative justice brings about transformative justice in a way that promotes true human dignity, and this in turn reduces the likelihood that the behavior will continue. Diversion can often feel more like completing a checklist that's unrelated to the consequences of one's actions, whereas restorative justice takes a much more personal approach. It is sometimes more challenging, but also more meaningful and ultimately more rewarding. For some, diversion is a practical path forward. For others, restorative justice offers something deeper, a chance to truly address what happened and move forward in a more meaningful way. It's important to understand these options, to make informed decisions, and advocate for the approach that best fits the current situation. Diversion is often the better route. In situations where the offense is relatively minor, the person has little or no criminal record, and most importantly, there's much less need for an ongoing interaction. For example, when a young person without a criminal record is charged with a minor theft from a retail store, in a moment of poor judgment and not a pattern of ongoing behavior, instead of pushing the case through the court system, it might be better resolved through diversion. They complete a set of conditions, community service, a short counseling program, and a written apology, and get the charges withdrawn. No conviction, no ongoing court appearances. And more importantly, it allows the youth to take responsibility for their actions without getting pulled more into the system. In those cases, diversion can be efficient, practical, and appropriate. Compare that to restorative justice. Restorative justice tends to be more appropriate in situations when there's an ongoing relationship or where the harm is personal in a way that is not easily addressed through a checklist of conditions. Think about situations involving family members, neighbors, coworkers, or within work or school communities, where people are likely to continue interacting after the incident. The resolution often goes beyond simple conditions. It might involve a direct apology, oftentimes face to face, financial restitution, or directly fixing the damage that was caused. It can include counseling, community based work, and structured conversation where the person who caused the harm hears directly about how their actions affected others around them. It can be powerful in cases where the person harmed wants to be heard, or they want answers, or they want a more meaningful form of accountability. All this being said, restorative justice is only successful where everyone is willing to participate in good faith, and it's not always the right fit. But when it is, it can be far more impactful than any other form of resolution. If you found this conversation helpful, please feel free to share it because there are a lot of misconceptions out there about the justice system, and conversations like this one makes a real difference. Thank you for watching. This has been Ben Fulton.